I am the sun. I am the air. Welcome to the Salty Witches podcast. We are the sun, we are the air. Anyway, hi, welcome. It's the Salty Witches podcast. We are a little delayed this week. I do apologize for that. It's been a little bit of a hectic week, but we're getting back to it. I am probably going to be a little punch drunk tonight simply because I just finished my reader shift and it was day. So anyway,
Did good work.
Ave Hecate, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. Mike has a glyph. We have the astrology doodads,
Yes.
and I don't know what I'm doing, but here we are.
Well, we have a couple of talking points. Again, I like to kind of throw these things out for discussion, kind of as they pop up. These are things based typically on conversations I've had with people within the witch community, both online and here locally. And we also have a very cool segment on this week's episode. We were very fortunate enough to do an interview. We have an interview with a very special guest that we will talk about a little bit more when we get there. But for now, let's get started with some of our regular segments. So, Mia, what are you ready with astrology?
No.
Okay, okay, that's okay. Oh, okay.
Damn it,
I
Mia.
didn't.
Actually, what I
Yeah.
want you to talk about is the fuckery of Pluto and Mars.
Yes, the Pluto-Mars opposition. Yay! Okay. Okay, how do I succinctly? Okay, Pluto. Pluto is our buddy in the underworld. It is Hades himself, and it really forces us to dig into our depths. Okay. In Since it's a modern planet, it's associated with the tarot card of judgment, the judgment card.
Spooky.
Okay. So we have that playing a push and pull kind of thing with Mars. That's not until November 2nd, but it's doing some other shit on the 14th.
We
Hold
hates it.
on. On the
Basically, the stars are trying to ruin our lives.
14th. So yeah, around the 14th actually is when we're gonna start feeling that pull of Mars, or sorry, Pluto, okay, judgment card. And then we got Mars. Mars is symbolized in the tarot by the Tower card, right? And so we have Mars and Pluto, both, we got Scorpio and Aries. They have common ground on Mars, but not in the sky right now. They're not having common ground, okay? So you have the war god against Hades himself fighting to the death, and we're all paying the price. So it makes sense that we're having a lot of weird natural things, and it makes sense that there's some tensions afar because these are deep. Pluto is a deep, it's a large collective
Is it the
generational
one? Yeah,
planet.
okay, yeah.
So it is out there, right? Now, so be nice to yourself. As Lon Milo DeQuette says, be good to yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Love is the law. Love under will, right? Do that, okay? Because you're going to be needing to be careful of your reactivity button, starting especially on the 14th of this month onwards. We're going to be feeling it all the way through like the 2nd of November is going to be like a really big peak of it. My cats are enacting that right now. And Mars is going to be going retrograde in December. So just buckle up, buckos, okay? Because Mars is going to be forcing us to look at what agitates us, what aggravates us. And instead, we need to take that and we need to put that into like physical movement, and we need to put that into like physical actualities. That's the only remedy I see personally in this. And then later in November, we're gonna have Pluto finally get the fuck out of Capricorn. And I'm sorry to you fixed signs. You can deal with that shit now because the cardinal signs, we're done with it. We're over that shit. Okay. So it's gonna move into Aquarius and it's a beautiful age of Aquarius and
Is
all
it the
the
dawning of the age of Aquarius? The age of Aquarius.
okay, that's the vibe. That's what we're ushering in. And so be nice to the Aquarians out there because maybe they're gonna be having some wake up calls.
God, I hope so. Aquarius.
Unhealed Aquarius, he means. We love a good healed, like
Mhm.
vibey Aquarian.
We need
Yeah,
Okay.
we need
totally.
Aquariuses, otherwise
Yeah.
we would never move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
so shout out to that one boyfriend I had that broke my heart who was an Aquarius. You
It
know who
was
you
an
are.
unhealed
He was
Aquarius.
an unhealed Aquarius. But
Yeah, wherever you are.
never got over him. Never got he ruined me. But
Oh,
you know what?
still?
That love, yeah, it literally never goes away. But I'm a weird person. So, okay. Um,
I think
what was
we're
I
all a
talking
little
about?
drunk.
I am, yes, I'm
I
very
know you guys are both
affected by Mars.
very tired.
I'm very affected by what Mars is doing. So, anyways, okay, channel this angsty uncomfortability into as much art, as much physical movement, as much outdoors as you possibly can as we get closer into the winter. That's gonna be harder, okay? But figure it out. Because that angst will just build up in you and you're going to do shit you do not mean to do when you could be utilizing it for growth. Okay. So we remember we can always, there's no bad astrology, but there's difficult astrology, in my opinion. And there's some difficult, catch me off camera, I'll say is bad astrology. But no, on camera, I'm telling you, there's no bad astrology. Okay. Um, we're just holding on till November, you guys. Let's make it.
That's
Hold
all
on.
that's all we're doing.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hold on.
But yeah,
In a lot of ways.
Venus, pay attention to Venus. There's some happy shit with Venus going on. Unexpected happy shit on the 14th. So
Yay.
that same day that we're gonna start feeling that little, it's gonna be within the realm of the Pluto-y war time, the war shit. The war shit is gonna be going on with Uranus opposing Venus, which maybe unexpected little happy things, unexpected
Little gifts.
comfy things.
Hmm.
Give your friend a gift on the 14th. Shout out to the birthdays on October 14th. Probably going to be the only good day.
That is Indigenous
Sorry.
Peoples Day.
Shout out to Indigenous Peoples Day. Let's maybe give them their land back. Maybe we can give
There
them
you
that.
go. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, I apologize for never preparing my goddamn astrology, but that
God damn it, Mia.
No, you're good. Hey, that was still helpful.
check out the astrology podcast for more. They're better than
That was still helpful. I found
Hey.
I found that helpful.
Oh, you got the fucking
Oh God, you know. Yeah,
shit.
so I drew our glyph for
Oh,
this
man.
episode for the next 2 weeks is kaput. Oh God, oh God, oh God, all the glare, all the glare. Our glyph for the
No.
next 2 weeks.
No.
I need to like use something other than white paper. So it's two dots. I got my nails did. It's two dots. Two dots. Hold on.
2 dots,
Me-
1
It's
dot.
an inverted penis and balls,
Yeah, it looks like a penis and balls.
but upside down. Like it's dangling, the balls are high, shaft is low. Caput Draconis. Isn't the Caput Draconis like the tail of the dragon?
There you go.
There
Yay,
you go.
Mia saved it.
See?
Okay, so it's two dots, one dot, one dot, one dot. Okay, all right. So this is Caput Draconis, or the dragon's head.
Oh, dragon's head, not dragon's
Okay.
tail.
No, Cauda Draconis is the dragon's tail.
That's dragons.
That's Cauda. Anyway, so this is the dragon's head, or
Oh,
the
are you
rising.
wanting to grab it?
Oh, you're good.
I didn't know.
Good, yeah. So
I like
or the well, it's
That's
that's
light.
good. There you go. Ah.
Ooh.
I have good nails for this now.
Yeah. Look at that.
Let the floor show begin.
By the
Anyway,
way, shout out to the Boulets. New season.
their new season
Killing it.
is already it's 2
Really
episodes
awesome.
in, but they're already kicking ass.
Mhm.
Anyway, Focus, focus. All right.
Anti-heroin.
Kaput Draconis is generally a positive glyph, actually. I'm kind of encouraged by this.
Good.
This is an opening door. This is an opening door and a new beginning.
Mm.
And like the death card in the tarot, this is a beginning that is really only made possible through an ending. Um,
And death
you
is
know,
associated with Scorpio, and then therefore Pluto.
yeah.
Oh, it's all
Yeah. So once again, yeah, these things kind of thread together really well. And so what I want to say with that in mind is over the next couple of weeks, I really want all of you, all the Saltines, I want you to say yes to new opportunities. I want you to say yes to situations as they arise in your life.
Be a yes man or a
I
yes
think
woman
that
or a yes
that's
babe.
a really to things that are authentic to you. I think that that's a really good way to tap into some of the energies that Mia was talking about a moment ago when she talked about like constructive ways to kind of apply that Mars energy right now with that weird Mars, your Pluto kind of thing going on right now.
Pluto fight.
Yeah, that Mars Pluto fight that's happening. Say yes to some things, right? Again, as long as they are authentic to you, right? And again, with the idea or the understanding of what it is that you are fully capable of handling right now, right? Like, I mean, don't overcommit, right? If you already have a full plate, then don't make your life even more complicated than it may already be, right? But now is actually a good time to say yes. With the understanding that what we say yes to is potentially going to help us to bring an end to some long-standing things or to some situations that we really just don't need anymore. It's kind of like that situation where we've been unable to say goodbye to something,
Mhm.
and so we say hello to something new, and the new thing comes in and says, "Okay, well, I'm here now. Bye, old thing." And
That's
we're
better forecast of the astrology, actually.
is
I
it?
like that. Yours is
Yeah.
better. Ignore what I said. Listen to what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay. So and that just to be clear, that doesn't give us a free pass on asserting healthy boundaries and saying goodbye to things that we know we probably should, because we definitely should be doing that. But we do have some influences rolling in the coming days that are going to be there to kind of help us to kind of basically take out the trash. And we need to say yes to those things. So this is a cool glyph. This is a good energy for us. And again, I want you all to be proactive about saying yes to this and allowing this energy to kind of move more into your life in the next couple of weeks. Um, this will probably, to be honest, be an energy that'll really kind of write us out through the end of the month. Um, so this is happy. This is a good thing. If you start to notice that old stuff is going away, that endings are happening, don't freak out. Don't try to hold on to all
Yeah,
that old
don't try to
shit.
hold on to
If
it.
it's something that is coming to an end now, it needs to die, and you
Yeah.
need to let it die. Because if you try to hold on to something now at this point that and on some part of you deep down, it needs to go, you're going to make a whole hell of a lot more trouble for yourself.
You'll become septic.
Yeah, that's one of the ways that
We
we
can't
unfortunately
afford that.
allow
Ooh,
toxicity
septic
into our
is a good
lives.
vibe for Mars and Cancer. Not no offense to cancers out there, but Mars and Cancer, especially retrograde, septic.
Yeah,
I like it,
that would make sense because
unfortunately.
because that's
Purge
definitely the
out the
vibe.
bad blood.
Yeah. So anyway, Kaput Draconis, the dragon's head was our glyph. So yeah.
So, with all that information, I'm going to give you some spell tips. I'm not going to take you through a meditation this go around, mainly because I think it's time for a change.
We can't meditate. We got all this Mars
I know
Pluto
Mars is
energy.
doing a lot of shit.
There's no meditation happening right
I'm
now.
going to
We're
take
in
this one.
Libra season. It's the adrenal glands. We're going, woo!
Mhm.
How'd that go? What was that again?
Woo, woo!
One more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your turn now.
I don't make noises like that. I'm autistic.
You
But
force yourself though to not,
Whoa, whoa,
ooh,
Ooh.
I'm like the most
Oh,
timid
keep it
werewolf
this
ever.
coming.
whoa. Anyway, so
I just went moo instead of woo. Moo.
Oh, that was
Acceptable.
beautiful. That
I
was a good
ruined
one.
everything.
Oh, that was a
no,
good
that was
one.
perfect. Anyway, so what I'm going to be giving you is actually some really pretty simple spiritual bath recipe. Okay.
I thought you said spell tips.
Yeah, spell
That's
tip,
spelled too,
spiritual. Yeah, yeah,
spiritual.
Okay, all
yeah.
right.
In keeping with theme, with cutting things away or letting things go that no longer serve us,
Mascot.
this is Luna. Luna's a crotchety bitch.
We love Luna.
She is a crotchety
Even
bitch.
more so because she's a crotchety bitch.
Luna.
This is management.
Hi, Luna.
She will bite your nose.
She would have been fighting me by now if it wasn't you. She
Anywho,
loves Austin.
so she does. She comes and hangs out with me while I
She's
make incense.
sweet.
Well, I don't think that's true. You feed her and give her butt scratches.
Yeah, and she's anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so cut and clear is actually going to be a really good thing for you to do. So I'm going to give you some tips and some things that you can do. So first off, for all those people out there who refuse to expand past candle magic, because that's real witchcraft. It's part of real witchcraft, but there's so much more. So I encourage you to, one, stop using salt in your spells.
Yeah, we don't really need to be using as much salt in our spells as
Like,
we don't
stop
need
it.
to.
Anyway, but for this cut and clear, you are not going to use salt. Why? Why are we not going to use salt, Austin? It's for clearing. Well, actually, it neutralizes. And unless you're actually going to exercise the spirit of salt appropriately, then it's just gonna neutralize, including everything that you raise and direct, because that's what salt does
You
and grounds. Anyway, so
use a shady bitch.
I'm
Will you get on with the recipe,
yeah.
sir?
So you're gonna need a white and black chain candle and a piece of string.
No,
Wait,
get
what?
on with the recipe.
So you're actually gonna need two candles. Okay. One is going to represent you, and the other is going to represent as a whole the things that are falling away that you need to say goodbye to. What you're going to do is name one candle for you. You're going to name the other candle for the other thing. How do you do that? You carve on them. Boom. Easy. How do I carve on it though? You grab a mechanical pencil. You grab a mechanical pencil.
Mechanical pencils work great if you don't have a candle scribe.
Exactly.
I'll
If
show
you don't
you
have a candle scribe, then mechanical pencils work great. Okay. You can use anything. If it's sharp, if it's pointy, you can carve into your candle.
Can I use a knitting needle?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because that'll be different than what I usually use them for.
Anyway, so then you're going to put scissors between them. Okay.
How exactly? Explain that. Because
So-
you say that, but a visual is always good.
Yes, you're going to put the blade end of the scissors, the actual cutting part, not the part that you hold, but like an actual like cutting part. You're going to put that between them, and you are going to light them both. And for 15 minutes a day, you're going to say goodbye to the candle that is moving away, that you are cutting away. Super easy.
So could I say I don't
So
have?
I carve in the candles. Can they see? Yeah.
Yep.
You carve. You have the scissors.
And then you do this, you go. And then place it that way. And then slowly you move it. Slowly you move it. And then when it's burned out, you're good. And then you dispose of it. And the other one you just continue to let burn. Now, that's really pretty easy.
Mia's assistant, she was helping.
Something you can use to help cut and clear these things away. You can use vinegar, because vinegar is a stripper. It strips energy and removes it. You can use ammonia. You can use coffee.
Be careful with ammonia.
Be careful with ammonia, but you could use it if you wanted to. You could use a cup of strong black coffee. You could use lemons. You could use limes. You could also include rosemary and cat's claw bark.
You could also call Austin's mom. She's a stripper.
She's not. She wishes she was. At least she'd make money and leave me alone. Anyway,
I don't know if you can make. Oh, I'm tired.
so anywho, I'm sure she's watching this.
Does she? Does she watch the
No.
podcast?
No, she doesn't.
Oh,
She's
okay.
too scared of what we do. She's
Okay.
actually terrified that I probably cursed her. Anyway, so anywho, so that's a candle spell.
Does your dad watch the podcast?
No, my dad doesn't watch podcasts. I don't even think my dad knows we have a podcast. Anyway, so that's your candle spell.
It's a podcast.
And I'm sure that everyone there is going to take that spell and go, no, and not want to do it because it's too complicated. Witchcraft is work. Get over it. Just get over it. It's work. Lazy witchcraft tips, great, cool, awesome. But that's why your magic's not working is because you're not putting in any effort. Anywho,
Lazy
so
witchcraft tips are okay, but you can't always do the lazy witchcraft tips.
yes, what Mike said. He said it nicer than me.
Yeah, sometimes you have to build the anchor of the ship in order to have a goddamn anchor to throw off your ship.
Yeah. So anyway, so now for a cut and clear bath, you want a cup of really strong black coffee. You want hyssop. You want lemons. You want rosemary. You want some Florida water if you got it. Put that in a pot, bring it to a boil, take it off, and dump it directly over your head. Because if I don't tell you to let it cool down first, that's what you'll do. So instead, what you're going to do is you're going to take that off the heat and you're going to let it cool because boiling water is ouchy.
Thank you for
Wait,
clarifying
what if
that.
I cheat and I just like boil it halfway and then I put cold water in them?
Then you're
That's what
diluting
I-
it.
But that's not bad though. It's still the same amount that it was gonna be.
Well, then you're fine.
Okay. As long as I use the whole thing,
Yeah,
it's
as
the
long as
same
you- yeah,
amount.
exactly. So
Okay.
anywho, so you do that and then you throw it in your bathtub and you soak and you wash from the head down while saying goodbye to the things that are no longer serving you. If you do not have a bath and you're really that concerned about it, then you take it into the shower and you dump it over your head after it's cooled because boiling water is ouchy. Please don't do this while the water is boiling.
Witchcraft does not make science go away.
No, no,
Exactly.
it does not. As witches, we work with science.
I legitimately had someone ask me, one of my clients, so do I dump it over my head while it's still boiling? And I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
no
okay.
wonder you're coming to me for guidance and clarity. Okay.
Okay, so I have a question,
Yes.
and I mean this seriously. Okay, this is a serious question. Okay, what if I don't have a coffee maker at home? Can I go to Starbucks and get like my latte and use that?
I wouldn't use your latte,
Mm.
but you could go to Starbucks
Get
and
an
you could.
Americano, bro.
I wouldn't do an Americano. I would just get like a venti like I just get a venti dark roast. It needs to be strong coffee because it's very acidic. And it likes to strip things. Now,
What
once
if I don't like coffee? Can I use a pink drink?
no,
No,
Oh, I'll
that's
shut up
just
now.
that's gonna make you sticky.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
if you're
not
trying
gonna.
to call in love, maybe we could talk about using a spell out of pink drink.
Oh,
Maybe we can start just
maybe.
making things
Well,
work
the,
for
the
people.
pumpkin
I
spice
don't know.
latte is actually a really good spell for love, to be honest.
And prosperity.
Yeah.
It's true, but no one has charmed and enchanted them. So
Yeah, you got to do that for
you
yourself.
have to do that for
Question
yourself.
about the spiritual baths. Spiritual baths are really useful, and I have a standing shower, right? And so what I do is I'll boil all the stuff up you're saying, and then I make it all boiling hot, and then I cheat and I put a little bit of sink water in it so it cools down
Mhm.
faster. And then I take my loofah and I dip it in there and I scrub with the loofah, and then after I'm done scrubbing down, then I pour it off.
Perfect. Look at you, ingenious. So there's a bath recipe. Now, for those of you who are like, ah, but I don't want a shower, I don't want a bath, then you can use an incense recipe. And a really simple cut and clear incense is coffee grounds, cinnamon, and lemon peel. Put that stuff together, put it on a charcoal, light it on fire, and move through your house and make sure it gets all over you. Make sure you speak out loud.
And no, it does not smell good.
No, it's not going to smell good.
I would just do the shower, the bath, you guys.
Yeah, but for those of you like, I don't want to shower,
Make a
then
spray bottle.
Take a shower, you stinky fuckers.
Yeah.
I know I
God.
need-
now
No,
if
you smell okay. You're good.
Yeah, you're
Good.
fine.
I'm right here. You smell fine.
now if you want if you are also trying to get rid of relationships or bring an end or a death to things that have caused you grief, then you can write a goodbye letter, burn it to ash, and dispose of the ash in the cemeteries. There you go. Spell tips.
So when we bury something in a cemetery, that doesn't mean someone's going to die, right?
No, not unless you say that someone is going to die and that is the focus behind the spell. If
Oh.
you are bringing death to
Well, it takes a little more than that.
it takes a little bit more than that, yes. But if you are just bringing an end to something, cemeteries are places where things go to end. So
Word.
there you go. There's your spell tip. There's your cut and clear spell tips. If you would like more cut and clear spell tips, you can contact me and book a reading or a consultation with me. And yes, I will be just as salty and just as fiery.
Okay. So I had a couple things I wanted to
You're,
address.
yeah, I'm just saying, it's the end of the day. You're abrasive. You're extra salty at the end of the
I
day.
am.
But I know you be talking to all these clients. Oh my God. Like, I'm so like, I love you. And
Yeah.
yes, the bath. Oh, you don't want to do that. I seen you, bitch.
Yeah.
So don't fucking,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. 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 Austin on the podcast is
He just
hello?
lets his aggravation come out.
Yeah. And then I think it
He's
was a
not,
kitty like
it's a
hitting the
cat.
wall or
Yeah,
something.
she's been
Um,
doing that all.
so I think yeah, Austin on screen is a lot more is a lot testier and spicier than he is in person. If you actually book a reading with Austin, he's a big sweetheart.
If you can get in.
Yeah, yeah, if you can get in with him. Yeah, good point. Um, yeah, he
Book in
busy.
advance.
He
Book it at
busy.
least 3 days in advance.
He busy. He busy. I wanted to talk about a couple of
Oh,
things,
yeah.
just because I wanted to kind of like get some opinions because I have my own opinions and like everybody else, I think my opinions are always right.
Yeah.
But I'm also, like I'm not a monster. I do actually like to hear other people's opinions as well. Um, I don't always think my opinions are always right, but I will say I'm a highly opinionated person.
Same.
I'm seeing again some things pop up, and they're always the same old conversations. And I think that people are probably as sick of saying this shit as I am. But as long as I keep saying it, I think we probably need to keep talking about it. Um,
Maybe.
but I've noticed the whole like intent is all you need thing popping up again in a lot of places. And I was seeing an interaction on
In what
the
context?
interwebs the other day. And it was a discussion basically about like, well, like intention is kind of really what you need. Intent is kind of really like the whole fuel behind a spell. Materialization, manifestation, intent is all you need, intent is all you need, intent is all you need. And it kind of got me thinking about the mindset that is most likely to really kind of put that message forward because it typically does tend to be people who are kind of more within kind of like the new age
Yeah.
light worker kind of spectrum, which is fine, whatever.
Right. We all
Right.
start
I'm not
somewhere.
in no way am I trying to say intent is like that's a bad thing.
No, you
Intent is an
need
You need
important
intention. You
yeah,
need
absolutely.
intention.
Yeah.
intent is a fuel. It
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
major component.
But it got me kind of thinking a little bit about where we see parallels there with other parasocial behaviors. Like I guess what it was is I was seeing this interaction or kind of like this basically this huge breakdown or meltdown within this group, this social group
Online.
on a Facebook page. Um, and it was kind of one of this group or one of these groups that has like a very diverse kind of community. And there are a lot of people within it that have kind of this mindset of like intent is all you need. And I was in there kind of like expressing like, well, like intent is all you do need more than that, and unfortunately I wasn't really pulled into the bulk of the argument. I wasn't interested enough to really get involved in it to that extent, but I was thinking about that and I was thinking about, well, what is the dynamic between that position, taking that position, and then something like cancel culture, where somebody like basically has a moment where they reveal that they are indeed actually human, and I'm not talking like people who are just horrific people like J.K. Rowling and other people
Yeah.
that just proved again
But
and
there's like
again
someone
and
who
again,
does
like
something
habitually
maybe.
that they're garbage people.
Yeah.
But like
But it's
somebody
like
who
someone
like
shows just a
yeah,
little,
like they
like the
make a
whole Chapel
mistake.
Rowan thing. Like she's
Yeah,
saying some nuanced thing and people
exactly.
are cutting, like
Exactly.
chopping and
Yeah.
screwing what
Like
she's
they
saying.
say one thing and everybody immediately like takes it to the worst possible case
Yeah.
scenario, or they immediately go run on a tangent with it, and it becomes this huge big ordeal, and obviously all of those people at that point are then basically like they're out for blood,
Yeah.
and the intent then very much feels like, oh, they want to destroy this person.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those groups overlap. Like a
Yes.
lot of times it's these, there's a very thin
The high
line.
vibes
There's a
group
very thin line
and the
between the
cancel
high
culture.
vibes and the social justice warrior / cancel culture community. There's a very thin line there,
Mhm.
and so there's this part of me that's like, wait a minute, intent is everything and you want to keep it high vibes and you want to stay positive. But didn't I just see you totally going after this person
And they
who had a
were,
human moment, who absolutely owned it, apologized for it, but you still can't get past the fact that this triggered some sort of past trauma of yours, and now this person has to forever be an enemy. You
Yeah,
know,
I think that's interesting because it's like if you want to go down the high vibes is all you need, then in my opinion, that if you want to go down that road, you better go down that road hard. And that should mean that person who showed a flaw, a human moment, you need to have intention is everything high vibes to that person and be, well, they what did they intend then?
mhm.
Did they intend to trigger my bullshittery? No. Okay, well then per my own high vibe rules, I have to be high vibe now. I don't know.
Mhm. No, I agree, and that's kind of why I'm bringing this up is because I was mulling these things over in my brain, earlier this week as I was kind of seeing some of this shit happen between this group of people, and I'm like, wait a minute,
Sad.
like this was like nothing. This person is being torn apart for nothing. And and they already admitted that they said something that they didn't intend it this way. They were not really well educated on the subject. They said something they didn't even realize was kind of like, oh wow, like, and then as soon as somebody said, hey, wait a minute, they were like immediately like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh God, I would never say anything
Yeah.
like that. you
They're
know
learning. It was a
yeah,
teachable
and
moment.
but at that point though, like somebody has already like rallied the posse, like the
Yeah.
mob is already there with pitchforks and torches, and they can't let it go. And so there's this part of me that's like, wait a minute, like where is your intent really? And so I don't know. So I was thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, if you're really one of these people that's like intent is all you need to really look more carefully at how you're
There's some
how
bypassing going
yeah, like
on.
how where is your intent really? Because if you're somebody who really believes that and you're basing your life, your spirituality, your approach to your life just in general with that belief, and you're behaving in that way, you're somebody who's buying into cancel culture kinds of dynamics. You're somebody who is putting that shit on your Instagram profile and then going out of your house and doing everything you can to cheat and lie and fuck everybody else over. Not only are you a hypocrite, but you're a garbage person. And if you are
Mhm.
somebody who is an intent is all you need kind of personality, you're probably also a karma personality, and you are your own worst karma if that is how you are living. And so I don't know. I was just really thinking about that
That
within the
that
last few
goes
days.
down that whole toxic rabbit hole of spiritual bypass. Like th- unfortunately, like love to new age people,
Oh, for sure.
like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
human, you you're having psychedelic experiences that you
Hmm.
don't know how to explain, and your intuition is on high, and you're not grounded yet, and you think it's real. Like I've been there. I've fucking been that person. But like if you stay hanging out, hovering in that, like, well, whatever I do comes back to me, and so like I can't do this, but like if we all gang up together on this person, then yeah, then it's like, yeah, we're gonna destroy this person, then it's like you agree to be someone's karma. Like there's just not a lot of self-reflection, there's not a lot of accountability, there's not a lot of really just that. There's not a lot of introspection, and there's not a lot of self like accountability or putting yourself in the person's shoes
Hmm.
who maybe said something uncomfortable, and you can tell maybe they were raised in a culture where they weren't taught that shit.
Hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, like no, you don't say that. But it's like, oh, well, they grew up in Utah their whole life. They might not know
Hmm. Yeah.
um until I don't know what I'm mumbling about.
No, you're good. I think I kind of get where you're going, and I agree with you. I think it really comes down to it, just a lack of accountability.
Just be
Yeah.
careful of the new age
Yeah.
shit, you
Well,
guys.
and
Like,
the thing is,
be careful of that
it's the new
high
ages for
vibe
sure.
everything, light
It's
and love
yeah,
everything.
it's that, but and the thing is, and not to pick on the new agers or the light workers, because I've seen that mentality kind of work at the other extreme too. Like I've seen that kind of in very much the other extreme with like left-hand path
Oh
practitioners
yeah.
and like edgelord occultists, where they're all about like the dark shit.
Yeah.
where they're completely about like evil and I'm just fuck everybody and it's all just about me and what I
Hmm.
want, and they get on these power trips where they think they're untouchable and there are no consequences for them. Not
Yeah.
only when it comes to the realm of spirit, but in like the actual material world. And they do fucked up and horrible things to other people because they think that they're like God, basically, like there
Yeah.
are just no consequences, and they do these horrible things, and I can understand that because clearly, like, yeah, like they that's how they feel. That's how they think. But these are also people that are very much like, oh, intent, like intent, right? Intent. And if you run around all the time with the intent being like the intent to harm, the intent to harm, the intent to harm, you have to realize on some level that consciously that is what you're materializing around you in your life. And sooner or later, you're most likely going to get a lick of that. It's not a matter of like law of return or karma because that shit doesn't exist. As far as my experience, karma doesn't exist. Not in the context of these practices anyway. So it's not a matter of like a law of return or something like that. It's just a matter of like you can't live like that and sooner or later not have those kinds of things impact you personally because that becomes your whole perspective. Like that becomes your belief
Hmm.
system. Those become your values. And so,
And everything's a reflection of you,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So I don't
Well, it's
know.
also like the people who decide that they're going to worship a god of chaos and then freak out about their life being in
There
chaos all the
is
time.
there
Yeah.
is a lot of that. Like we're seeing a lot of people who maybe would have originally started in New Age
Mm,
culture. They're starting in what they believe is witchcraft practices.
mm,
And I've just seen this recently, people just totally not into anything. And instead of going down the crystals route, they want to get they want to invoke like a goddess they think is cool,
mm,
and maybe and then so they get like a war goddess going in their life, and it's like, well, you're literally you're going to be calling more of
mm.
that in your
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
so people are, I think they're going to end up at least going down that route. They'll learn faster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. Well, but particularly if you've got another conscious intelligence there that is kind of either helping you figure things out or taking you to task, yeah, you're definitely going to learn a
Mhm.
lot more quickly. Um, whether they're playing with you nicely or not. But I don't know, I thought that was interesting. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and it's the
Yeah,
veneer. It's like
yeah.
when you're involved with spirituality and mysticism and occultism, like if you're really seeking, like you consider yourself like a genuine, like you're seeking, just you have to be like, we get so frustrated, I think, because we see that there's people who say that they've been doing this shit for years and their heart's not in it. They don't give a fuck. And you know, they're just ready to snap up those people, just you know,
Well, and that's
frustrating.
going to kind of lead me to one of the next things I wanted to really kind of talk about because this is actually an interaction I had twice this week with a couple of different people online. One of them was, and I want to be really careful about how I say this because I know I do I want to sound, and I'll be the first to admit, like on the podcast, I already know. Like I'm the grumpy old fucker on the podcast. I claim it. I know that's
I'm pretty
me.
sure I'm
That's
grumpy
that's
right
my
now.
job. That's the role I take. Designation grumpy old fucker right here.
You're
Um,
in a new era.
but my interaction with someone earlier this week, okay, and this was a young person. I'm guessing somewhere between like 16 to 18.
Okay.
And this was a social media interaction, of course, always with that age range, 16 to 18. Of course, it was a social media interaction because nobody that age is actually doing anything out in the real world.
Hmm.
Um, so this person was talking a big game and they were basically talking about how they were working to organize what they wanted to do is organize some sort of like group of practitioners or some people to kind of like work as like a collective of people to like help learn and exchange information and it sounded like this.
Cute.
Yeah, it sounded like
That's
this
really
really amazing
cute.
things, and that's one of the reasons why I initially like got involved in the discussion.
Yeah.
Um, And because and of course I didn't know who this person was, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking like, this actually sounds really amazing.
That's cool.
Like I want to go in and talk about this. I want to be a part of this discussion because it sounded like exactly like, well, this is the shit that we do here.
Hmm.
Like trying to network, trying to like get people involved, people who give a shit, people who actually have something to present, people who want to help, and got in there and started to kind of talk to this person a little bit. And it found out that this person that was trying to be the center of this was again like a teenager who just through conversation I had and what I could see of conversation they had with other people, um, it became clear very quickly that they didn't really know a whole lot. And of course, they're a teenager. They haven't had the time to collect that much.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Hmm.
They don't have the knowledge yet. They
They're
haven't had,
excited and they
there's
think they know
yeah,
some
exactly.
stuff.
They didn't know a whole lot, but they were behaving as if they did. And I think that a couple other people in that conversation also started to kind of get a little wise, and because questions started to be asked,
Awesome.
and there were people that were saying like, well, what exactly is it that you were planning on bringing to this? Because based on the conversation that's had, you've got this person bringing this, and these people who are willing to do this, and this person who has this knowledge and this knowledge and this knowledge. But other than just kind of being the person who's here, kind of gathering the people, you
Benefiting.
don't really seem to be doing a whole lot or contributing much. So what is it you're contributing?
Yeah.
And this person kind of like copped an attitude, and they came out with well, I've been doing this my whole life. And and I like and I had a moment like when that came up in the conversation, and I was like, you're like 17. You've
Yeah.
been doing this your whole life. That means you've been doing this for maybe 5, 7 years, maybe.
That's giving
Because
off.
because when you say you're doing this your whole life, and again, I want to be really clear about this, okay? Because a lot of people say that. I have in conversation when someone has asked, well, how long have you been
It's
practicing?
like,
How long
yeah,
have you been a witch?
you've
I
done
have
it
said
all
that. I
life.
have said I've been doing this my whole life. And really what I mean by that, because to be honest, it's kind of a flip answer, right? Because it's easier for me to say that than to give that
Yeah.
person
To
my life
explain.
story, you know? But in truth, in answering that, like I can honestly say like nobody up to the age of like early teens, nobody up to the age of actually being able to make conscious, intelligent choices around what they are learning, what they are practicing, what they are putting their own personal belief system in, until you get to a point where you are actually able to do those things for yourself, are actively doing those things for yourself, you're not a practitioner. You're not a practitioner of anything. You have no practice. Anything you're doing prior to that is something that someone else is either telling you to do, or you're basically just following, yeah, just that. You're following the lead of whoever else it is that's around you. And so in no way am I trying to shit on early life experiences of people who were maybe fortunate enough to be brought up in families where there were established practitioners. My family was like that. Austin's family was like that. Mia, your family, you always had older members of your family that were interested in tarot, interested in
Yeah.
other kinds of things, right? So if you were someone who grew up, you were fortunate enough to have elders, whether they be family members, friends, whoever they were, right? And they were people who, from even a very young age, they exposed you to these things. Okay. Early life exposure to these things does not mean that you were a practitioner. You did not have the knowledge, you did not have the free will, you had not yet had the opportunity to consciously begin to cultivate your own experiences to really be able to identify as a practitioner. And again, that is my opinion, but it is not just my opinion. Um, I think that being a practitioner is something that requires those things. I think you have to get to a moment where you have some of your own stuff going on. And so with that being said, I think it's something that we need to maybe start having within the occult community. I think it would be fair for us to start to have more honest discussions around that when that comes up. Like, well, how long have you been doing this? Like,
It's
I
okay to say that you're 17. You're like, I've been doing this for 6 years.
yeah.
Like, That's fucking impressive,
Yeah.
my guy. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking impressive.
Well, and also to me, when you look at that other aspect of that, to me, it also lends belief to the idea that like the longer you're doing this, the better you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because I think that that's also bullshit because
yes.
I
Because there's
know
not, yeah,
people,
they
I
don't
know
keep
people
up with it.
here in the area, I can think of two people right off the top of my head who for the longest time have actually been fixtures within the local pagan, I won't say witch community because I don't consider either of them witches, but within the local pagan community have been fixtures. They have made sure that they remain fixtures within the community. And and they have not only identified themselves as practitioners, elders, any title that they can both appoint themselves, because
High
that's what they've
priest,
been
high
really good at, high
priestess.
priestess. Um, and I'm talking a little shit now, absolutely, but I'm not dropping names, so it doesn't really matter. And I doubt they watch the podcast, so
Please
it doesn't
don't.
matter.
Yeah, no, we don't.
But these are both people who I know as older adults have been what I would identify as practitioners for I would say easily 30 years, at well over 30 years for sure.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say they've been doing it wrong for 30 fucking years.
For real. For real.
You
No,
know?
it's sad though. And a lot of times when you're a practitioner, let's say you were introduced, like I'll give an example, okay? So when I was raised in a family that was very mystically inclined. It was a mystical Mormon household is the easiest way I can explain it. And so my uncle, he was for a time a professional tarot reader and astrologer, and he taught me certain ways of looking at a natal chart that I had to kind of unlearn unknowingly as I'm like reading through the websites and the forums when I'm a kid. And then but more specifically what it was I thought he had taught me the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And I thought that I had known how to do this very simple like thing you need to learn if you're going into ceremonial. It just helps you get a good basis of yourself.
Yeah.
But like I thought I understood what I was doing with this visualization. And so then I'm like, okay, no, I'm resetting my life. I'm gonna just empty my brain. I'm gonna pretend I don't know anything. I'm gonna take a class on the LBRP. I just want to start from what's the first thing I remember my family talking to me about, and I want to take a class on it and see where I'm at. I was not taught correctly at all. I was taught some other shit. I
Hmm.
was taught nowhere near. What the fuck? No. I was not taught the LBRP. And so, um, when you are fortunate enough, in my opinion, when you're fortunate enough to be raised even in a mystically inclined household or a magically inclined home or a long time witchcraft tradition, like check in with yourself with historical information with books. Keep reading books, and you know you might not have been taught something right, and it's okay. It doesn't take away from the validity of whatever experiences you had, but you're just going to keep spreading that around if you don't check in with yourself. You have to be okay with saying you don't know
It's
sometimes.
okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong, for fuck's
It's okay
sakes.
to be wrong, and
I'm
it's okay to not
fine.
fucking know.
I used to lie when I was 16. I used to say my mom taught me tarot, and I, come from a long line of witches and stuff. Like I said that shit all the way up till like I was like 21, 22, because I was afraid people wouldn't take me serious because being raised in a mystical Mormon household, it doesn't sound as cool as having a Yugoslavian mom and her knowing tarot. So
My
I
Yugoslavian mom taught me tarot.
that sounds too northern. That sounds too Russian. I don't know.
I don't know how to do a
It's
Yugoslavian accent.
the trash. It's more like Bosnian. I don't know. But you know, uh, but yeah. So it's okay to have your wherever your genesis was, it's okay. And if you learn wrong, it's okay.
You
She's
can
a
always
bitch.
relearn.
You can always relearn, and it doesn't
Or you can
mean
choose not to relearn it.
anything.
If it's working for you that way, then okay, cool.
But then claim it that
Yeah,
way.
claim it that way, but also remember that it's okay to do things in a
You
different
son of a
way.
bitch.
Like so this week I have so I went from 15K followers on TikTok to 15.1K.
Oh,
Yes. Do
Wow.
you want to know what?
Doing free readings.
No, not
No.
doing free readings.
Okay.
You want to know what it was?
hmm.
My damn salt challenge.
Your salt challenge?
Yes, I challenged all of the little people who followed me this week. All
The
the
little people? Oh God, you sound like such an asshole
No,
when you
he
say
said
it like
all of
that.
the little like. Oh,
Oh, you mean
okay.
like
Well, I
you
don't
mean
know.
like
No,
No, I'm talking like newbie witches.
oh, oh okay.
Like all
It's
the
like
people who follow me on TikTok who get my videos
You don't
regularly.
think of them as your little babies. I always think of them as my little babies.
That's too much responsibility. I didn't sign up to be a parent. So I'm glad to be their sassy gunkle, their sassy witchy gunkle. But I was like, here's a challenge. Don't use salt in your spells and see how well they pop off. And the amount of people who are like, I never used salt in my spells. I'm like, well, that's great. Then this wasn't actually, geared towards you. But then the people who are like, oh, well, I've only ever used salt. I don't know what else to use. And I'm like, then pick up a fucking book. Like, pick up Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Cunningham, The Master Book of Herbalism by Paul Barrel. Like, pick something up. A quick Google search will give you some alternatives,
Google.
And then I had someone who came from me like, so no salt in circle castings. And I was like, well, I don't cast circles. So no. And if you are using a salt and circle casting, then you're still exercising the spirit of the salt if you're doing it the traditional way.
Mhm.
And people just don't get it. It's created this like, oh, well, who are you to tell people how to practice their witchcraft? And I'm like, it was a challenge. So
Do you think we're always gonna be doomed to like
that got dark real quick.
have no, I mean like, do you think like as like genuine, like you're trying your best to like learn real things, do you think we'll always be doomed to be, I don't know, like pointed down at by people who are high and mighty about using things the wrong, like doing things kind of weirdly wrong
I think
because it's popular?
I think so, but
I think so.
also I think that
Because it's
I
popular.
don't
Yeah,
look
but
at it
it's
as
not worthy
I
of
don't
my
look at it
integrity.
as doomed. I think what I look at that is,
Always
and I
gonna
was
be alone.
I said this to Austin.
Bitch, you're not alone.
I said this to no, no, don't look
Oh
at it.
no, I
Don't look at it
don't
this
know.
way.
I know.
You just like
I
went
was talking about
totally existential
I
dread.
was talking about this morning
Darkness
with Austin.
came like
On the way over to this morning, I was talking about this with Austin. Excuse me, and I made a comment to this effect as we were getting out of the car to come into the shop today. I don't look at it as so much as being doomed. I look at those situations, those interactions as validation somewhere at my core. Um, that not everybody out there is meant to be a witch.
I 100% agree with that.
Not everybody out there is meant to be a magical practitioner.
I 100% agree with that because
And I base that off
I
of the
didn't used
fact
to
that
believe that, but I think I do now.
I say that, and I want to be really clear on that because I do believe that anybody can access those things.
Yeah,
Anybody
fuck
can
yeah.
be those things. But I don't think everybody is meant to be because there are people out there. It sounds like the people that interacted with you on that Austin that were like, well, you should just let people just practice how they want to. Like, I hate that. I hate that response so much. I hate that response so much.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like, I hate that so much. And because it just that right there tells me, first of all, that person is totally like trapped in ego, trapped in trauma.
are you crying?
No, it's just
And-
itching.
But also that tells me
Yeah.
right off the bat
People
that
are dumb.
that
No,
person
it's
will probably never be a truly great magical practitioner because they are unwilling to learn.
Yes.
They are unwilling to experiment. They are unwilling to try something different. They are unwilling to step out of their comfort
But
zone.
we can't become that in trying to defeat that monster at
Exactly.
the same time.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
is why it was a challenge. It wasn't, you're dumb for doing this.
Why?
Yeah.
No,
It was-
I know how you said it. You
Yeah.
were like, hey,
Yeah.
just see, and like
Just
you
try
were
it.
like, hey, show me your like how they
Try it.
pop off. Like,
Yeah.
How they pop off.
Yeah.
yeah.
And what inspired me to do that was I was thumbing through social medias and there is this
I think we
person.
just need to stay off social media. Oh,
Let's just
God.
get off of Facebook. I can only handle threads if I curate it and
Well,
block
the
everyone.
experiences that I've had that I've been talking about, these were all on threads.
You got to start blocking
I
everybody
know,
who you
I
don't
know.
like.
I've been getting better at it.
But I was thumbing through through social media, and this post come up of this young person. It's always a young person.
They're
And they were
excited.
like,
They're
I did
excited.
a money jar. I did a money spell jar, and I like lost my job, and the company's going out of business. Chaos magic. And I was like,
That's
Wait,
not
what?
chaos magic.
that's not chaos magic.
Was it a joke? Was it meant to be like a joke?
No, I'm pretty sure it was real because all these social media witches posting every goddamn spell they fucking do.
Yeah,
If
you
you are
don't
posting
post every
every
spell
damn
you
thing you
do.
do, especially if you're like, I'm going to curse my enemies. If you have the time, if you have the fucking time to post that type of shit on your social media,
Then you have time for a therapy
then you have
session.
time for
Yeah,
therapy and you have time to read a goddamn
and
book
that's fair.
and
Yeah.
you have time to maybe meditate, maybe pull some cards. But yeah, like I post very little about the spell work that I do, like actual pictures of it. I'll talk about it.
Well, you can't be posting on your spell work because a lot of the spell that you do is for clients
Exactly.
and other people, and people don't.
They don't share
People
business.
shouldn't be seeing it.
Exactly.
Hopefully people aren't posting
Oh no,
pictures
people are
are
posting.
there of their
People, yeah,
clients.
people
Yes.
post
And
pictures of
like
their
the
clients
stupid little
working
cord cutting
all the
things.
time.
Oh my
Yeah, I've seen a
God.
number
That's
of people.
uncomfortable.
I've seen a
It's
number of people
unethical, is
post,
what
and
it
they'll even
is.
say that. They'll even say like, "This is a picture of a spell I did for a client," and I'm like,
Don't do
like,
that. Please
oh my
don't.
God, if
Don't
I
do
were
that,
that
you
client, I would
guys.
never hire you again.
What?
Now, if you talk with your client and you're like, hey, so
I
this really cool thing happened during the working,
Yeah, I'd
is it
like to
okay if I
share it.
Yeah, if
share
they
this
got
for a
permission,
teaching
then okay, yeah.
opportunity, you
But
know?
of course they don't ever say
Yeah.
that. They like go, I got permission to share this. You know,
So
I think you're trying to like out grumpy old fucker me over there. Like you got like really negative and pissy over there.
I'm just really tired,
I'm
guys. It was
tired
a
too.
long day.
Yeah, I think we're gonna call it for tonight. I think we've griped enough.
We're
I brought up enough negativity for tonight.
Listen,
Um,
let's just blame it on Pluto and Mars.
that sounds good.
Okay, Pluto and Mars is
Mars.
it's bringing Pluto and Mars in this fight is showing us the grimy, tumultuous underworld that, yeah, we're magical practitioners and these people claim to be magical practitioners, so then therefore they weave themselves into our algorithms. And so maybe this Pluto and Mars is showing us like this is shit we just need to fucking block and delete all these people so that we can find the real ones, you know?
Yeah, it's true. So, all right. Well, we're going to
And stop putting
include.
lines of salt at your door. It's going to destroy the molding and the caulking and all that other
Not to
stuff.
mention, but what a
You know,
waste of salt.
Masqueria powder, you guys, just grind up save your eggshells,
It's so much
grind it up.
ecologically sound to castorvia powder. Oh my God.
But make sure you tell them what to do, because if you just sprinkle something and go, ha, 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 it's going to protect me from all the
No, it's
demons.
like
You actually have
this is a
to
sacred
charge it.
shell.
There are so
This
many
is
things you could use. You could do powdered cinnamon across your threshold too.
yeah.
I'm not talking blowing it across. I'm talking like actually
Like
a
a
line of
line.
cinnamon.
Like a line.
Like cinnamon in so many cultures is also so good for keeping away malevolent spirits. And it's again also more ecologically sound. I don't understand the salt thing. People just really need to get over the salt thing.
I think maybe because it's so easy and TV shows
They
and stuff.
It's straight up, it's
you've
TV
got
shows. It's
you
fucking
you it's
supernatural.
supernatural. They sprinkled salt everywhere in supernatural without any concern for, well, one, like, is this
The
actually a
plants.
real thing? Two, is it good to be dumping all this salt on the earth? No, it fucking isn't.
It's not
Um,
what plants crave. I'm getting derailed. I'm sorry.
but no, you're good.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway, that's podcast
so
episode. Thank you so
If
much.
well,
questions and subjects you want to hear about, that would be amazing just for me personally. What
just
aspects of
questions.
astrology you would like to know about for the next month or the next time. That would give me some great direction because I obviously have no.
Well, we can. I mean, the same with the geomancy. Like I'm like I you know
We're here for you.
we're here for
here to
you guys, and
puzzle.
we're happy just to give you the general forecasts on things. But yeah, but if you guys have specific shit you want to look at, I mean, my God, like Send us questions.
Oh
Send us
yeah.
questions. Like
Send us
we used to get
questions.
so
We
many
love it.
questions in the old days when we did the podcast the first couple of years. We got so many listener questions, and you guys sent us
Get it?
amazing questions and like really spurred some fascinating conversations on the podcast. And we haven't really had any questions in a long time. So send us questions. Like you can message us
Hmm.
at the shop at info@captaincauldron.com. You can find us all over social media.
We also have Salty Witches
You can
Podcast at
comment
Gmail.
us right on YouTube.
YouTube. Yep.
Yeah.
So send us your questions, right?
Hit us up.
Anyway, this is not the end of the episode. We're going to cut now over to a pre-recorded interview that I did with the owner of the Serpents Key Shop and Sanctuary, which is located in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Some of you may actually be familiar with this shop and the situation that's been going on there. We start the interview. I start the interview with the owner. She introduces herself, and I'll let her do that when we cut over there. And
That's
she's going to
exciting.
kind of explain exactly what's been going on, what she's been dealing with in her shop,
Ooh.
and also, of course, kind of give you a little more information to help you get familiar with her shop. If you are in that area of the country, if you're going to be planning on a visit, kind of close to that area, please go
Shout out to
in,
Serpents Key.
Serpent's Key.
visit the Serpents Key Shop and Sanctuary. Say hi to the owner, say hi to the staff there. They're doing amazing work. And shops like the Serpent's Key, much like Cat and Cauldron here, these places, these are the foundations of your magical community.
Well, not only
So
are the
please go and show some support.
well, not only are they the foundations, but there's something that I really need to get out there. Y'all going off on all these where you can get the most cheapest thing, Dollar Tree and stuff. How about you go support your local fucking witchcraft business?
Yeah,
How
like
about that?
if we
You
have
know?
it, then
Like, here's the
Yeah.
thing. There, people always like, oh, I didn't know this, and it's like, well, now you do. So you
your
should like
local shop
continue to
can
like
special
come
order
in.
stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's plenty of shops here in Utah, but our shop is not commercial. We are small, we are
We're
mighty,
not bankrupt.
and we are not bankrolled,
Yeah.
and we are highly ethical. And if you come in and you're looking for something and we don't happen to carry it because it's not something that's very popular, guess what? We can special order it. Shocker, all you have to do is talk to the person at the counter.
Well, and then just think about like, yeah, you can get it really fast, Amazon, but you can't guarantee the quality. We already have done that. We can guarantee like the quality of like the roots that if you need specific roots for things, Austin's got you. Like I can make tarot deck recommendations and yeah, you can get it on Amazon or whatever, but if you literally just take 3 more days, I can get it like we can get that for you, you know?
I think
Just a little bit more time
Patience
and
is a virtue, bitch.
it makes such a difference for us.
when I talk about, and this will be something
Well, hi,
this will be
Matsumoto.
something that will be discussed in the interview that we're going to be turning you guys over to now here in a moment, as well. Um, when I talk about shops like the Serpent's Key and Cat and Cauldron and then so many others, when we talk about shops like that being the foundation of your community, it is not necessarily that we're selling you things. That's not really the foundation of your community. Okay. But shops like ours, we need to sell things because we need to keep the lights on. And we have leases, we have rent and mortgages and things that we need to pay. And the people who own those businesses, and the people who work there, we need to pay our bills. When we talk about coming in and supporting businesses like ours instead of going and buying your things at the Dollar Tree or ordering your things on Amazon. Why that is, to be honest, why that is so important for you to be aware of and why it is so important for you to support businesses like ours, is because in addition to having a shop where we sell you things for your work, for your magical work, we provide a space. We are community centers and we teach classes and we create safe spaces for marginalized communities.
Even though the space doesn't seem very
we-
safe right now because we're so
we
grumpy.
create safe spaces for people. We create spaces for people to come and be healed. We are foundations for the community in that way. If all the shops like Serpent's Key, Cat and Cauldron, all the others, if all the shops like ours go out of business because you would rather go buy your candles at the Dollar Tree, or you would rather order your witch kits and your whatever the hell else it is you need on Amazon. If you do that and shops like ours go out of business, you might still be able to buy your candles. You might still be able to get your crystals. You might still be able to buy the things that you need. But where are you going to go for your classes? Where are you going to go to do your
To meet your
rituals?
people.
Where
The
are you going
16-year-old who has a Patreon.
where are you
That's
going to
where.
go to meet your people? Where are you going to go to actually get a real experience? Because
And even
yeah, you
beyond
you
you.
can follow someone on Patreon, but you're not going to get to go and actually hold ritual with that person. You're not going to
I'm
get
telling
to
you,
go.
online and
I
cyber ritual
mean,
is not the
you
same as
know,
in person.
so that's what I mean when I talk about why we are the foundation of your communities. It's because that work that we do. And again, and that is a huge piece of the work that is also being done at the Serpents Key Shop and Sanctuary. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this part of the podcast, and we're going to get you tuned over to the interview. It's an amazing interview. And again, if you're in that area, if you are in or around Hanover, Pennsylvania, please go in, visit that shop, give them some business, support them, support their staff. If you're traveling to that area, please go check them out. Amazing people. They're doing really good work.
Yes,
Okay.
me and I are not a part of that interview because it was early in the morning and I had my COVID booster and
Yes.
I was tie-tie.
I
I
didn't
can
even know what happened.
I
Sorry.
conducted that interview in the jungle room. So it's different scenery, and it's just me and Beck, the owner of the Serpents Key. So,
All right. Enjoy.
all right, thanks
Happy
everybody.
witching!
All right, hello, Saltines. This is Michael with the Salty Witches podcast, and I am overjoyed to be here today with a special segment for the podcast. I am joined by a very special guest. This is Beck Lawrence, who is the owner of the Serpents Key. Um, and Beck, can you tell us a little bit? Well, first of all, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Beck. I own the Serpents Key right here in Hanover, Pennsylvania. I'm a polytheist. I have been practicing witchcraft since I was like a teenager. And about a year ago, I was opening my metaphysical store because, who doesn't want to own a metaphysical store? And all of a sudden, the notorious Hanover Police Department decided to come knocking at my door. So we've been dealing with that for about a year now.
Well, and this situation, well, actually, before we go in there, because
Yeah.
that's kind of the tricky, right? That's kind of the
Mhm.
bad. Before we go there, I really I want to talk about the Serpent's Key,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we run the podcast, right? But those of us who run the podcast, we own and operate Cat and Cauldron
Mhm.
here in our area, and just metaphysical shop owner to metaphysical shop owner. It's so nice to connect. Like I
Yeah.
love to be able to connect and to make those
Yeah,
build those bridges. So before we go there, because really that is a
100%.
that is a big part of why we wanted to have you on the podcast, because people need to know about this
Yeah.
situation. People need to know about what you've been dealing with, and
Mhm.
just this nastiness that you have been dealing with this city there with Hanover.
Yeah.
But before we go there,
100%.
let's talk about your shop.
Yeah.
I personally I want to learn more about your store.
Yeah,
I want to know
absolutely.
like what was the inspiration for the shop? What is it you've got going on there?
So, I'm going to preface all of this with I am a Virgo. So I was like, you know
Okay.
what? Let me just do this. So basically, about 3 years ago, I was really unsatisfied in my job. I was working in fashion at the time. I designed menswear. And that
Oh,
was like
okay.
it was fun, but like after a certain point, I was like, I'm super burned out. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, oh my gosh. So I ended up quitting my job. I worked at a tattoo shop for a while, and I ended up going up to Salem, and I like walked around Salem. I was like, oh, this is cool, but like I feel like I could do this. Like this doesn't seem like I don't know. It doesn't seem that hard, right?
Yeah.
So, which I was wrong. It is incredibly difficult to run to be a small business owner. Like, gosh, my 24-year-old self was a little bit naive, but you know what? We made it. Anyways, I had come back and about a year after that trip, a year after I'd been working in the tattoo shop, I asked my boss, I was like, hey, we have a free supply closet open. Do you mind if I like paint it and just like take tarot clients out of the back room? And like, I'll give you a percentage just like any other artist. And she was like, yeah, sure. So I started off in basically a supply closet with myself, my reading chair, my little like area,
Oh,
and like a couple little vendors. We expanded that space in about 6 months because I got a little too big for my britches.
okay.
And then finally, that summer, so summer of 2023, I officially started working on this storefront where I am currently. So it's been quite the journey. It's been growing like steadily. I didn't even I don't know. My grand opening was on Samhain of 2023, so not even
Ooh,
a full year. Yeah.
that's such an
um,
auspicious day though. Ooh, Samhain. Like,
yes,
ooh, okay, all right,
yes.
okay,
I was really excited. So, I really wanted to start the Serpent's Key. The full name of my shop is the Serpent's Key Shop and Sanctuary.
okay.
There aren't a lot of safe spaces for like queer or alternative folks in this
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
And that is something that I really felt like was necessary, right? Like I moved up to Pennsylvania. I'm not here from here originally. I'm from Virginia.
Okay,
Um, so I was like, oh great, I'm moving to a much more liberal space. And
okay.
it I found the opposite, and that's why I was like, you know what? I think we need a really cool space for folks just to come together and be, right?
Yeah.
So my store is essentially like a really cool spooky consignment shop. So
Okay.
all of the vendors are small local businesses. So you know that everything is like, all of our sage is stuff that I've harvested from my friend Linda's garden, and
Very
I hand
nice.
wrap
Okay.
everything. So
Okay.
it's I call it farm to table.
Nice. Okay.
But we really have a commitment to community work. We work with a lot of charities, including like a women's shelter, an animal shelter. We
Oh,
established a clothing closet for trans youth in the area.
oh,
So
very
yeah,
nice.
we've been
Okay.
doing a lot like of community service as well. So it's not just like I'm not just like, hey, let me read your cards. I have a
Yeah.
crystal ball. Ooh. It is definitely a place where people can come together and also kind of give back to our community as well. So
Yeah.
I like to think of it as an asset. I don't know.
Okay. No, I would agree. I would agree. I think that's amazing. And just as you were explaining that to me, I find more and more that shops like yours,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a few others that I'm kind of familiar with around, well,
Mm-hmm.
just all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, that more and more that tends to be kind of the role, or that's kind of like the space that we kind of take
Mm-hmm.
up.
Yeah.
It's not just about the shop, right? Like
Right.
it's about the
Right.
community, right?
Right.
And we kind of we take that we kind of we take that role, that space where
Mhm.
it's like we're here to help this community and this
Right.
community. And the
Right.
communities that we primarily that we're in support of, they really
Mm-hmm.
very often they are the disenfranchised.
Right. The marginalized.
Yeah.
One of the deities, and I painted a mural. I mean, she is like
Yeah.
7 feet tall of Hecate, right?
Very
She is
nice.
the guardian of the crossroads, the guardian of
Yeah.
those who are liminal, who are in between,
Yeah.
people who don't belong, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you do here,
Yeah. Very
And
nice.
I think the things that I try to like impress upon people is like it doesn't matter what path you walked, it brought you through my door.
Yeah.
So however you got here, cool. Like that's fine. I can meet you at whatever level you're at, And I
Yeah.
think that is a really unique thing around here. Like Hanover is like a pretty, religious conservative area. So to
Okay.
have this kind of radical space where it's like you don't have to spend money. You can just hang out. Like it's okay. Like
Yeah.
I straight up don't care. Like I'm trying to be like one of my biggest inspirations is like Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like when
Okay.
he has the magic box, like the
Yes.
shop, and the kids are just always hanging out doing
Yeah.
research. Like that's the vibe. Like I just want it to be like a cozy spot. Like I
Yeah.
have high school kids who come and like get help with their algebra homework. I mean, I'm terrible, but like I'll try. You know what I mean? So it's
Okay.
just like yeah, it's a nice little community center. That
Gotcha.
happens to be a little spooky.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I think that's amazing. Yeah, I see. I'm not too familiar with Hanover. I've got
Mhm.
family in other areas, like kind of around
Okay.
that area of the country, but I'm not personally familiar with Hanover. So you say it tends to
Hmm.
be kind of a more conservative, more religious
Hmm.
area, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to me because we're in kind of the same situation here.
Hmm.
So we're
Yeah.
kind of in the heart of Utah here, where we have a very
Hmm.
large LDS or Mormon
Hmm.
community. Um, but and at least I don't know, I would hope it would work this way everywhere, but from what
Yeah.
maybe what we're going to go the next conversation we have, or the
Hmm.
next bit of our conversation, maybe unfortunately it doesn't. We have, or I know I've noticed in a lot of places where there's a predominantly or a very large religious
Hmm.
community, there also tends to be a kind of a very large alternative kind of
Yes.
community. Like there's a very
Yes.
large subculture or subcultures. Um, so so with where you're at now
Hmm.
in Hanover, is that the case? Do you have like is there kind of like a good alternative culture there?
I think that it's growing, right? I
Okay.
think that there have been, and it's kind of sad, there have been a couple local businesses this year that haven't survived the economic season.
Oh,
Like they've had to
okay.
close down,
Okay.
that were hubs for the alternative. Like one of my favorite shops. I was like, no.
Oh, okay.
But like it's ultimately going to be so good for the owner. Like I'm so proud of her and like so happy for her because it's her next chapter is going to be amazing. But
Okay.
that was like a huge hub for like a lot of like alternative folks. So now like it's very few and far between, but I think that, when you are told this is how you have to live and this is how you have to be and this is who you need to worship and how you should live your life, it naturally like spawns this kind of alternative like wait a second, but why?
Yeah.
And I really hope that like through this whole what we're going to talk about and all that, hopefully it can like give a more positive outlook as to like what alternative folks can be like. I get like I wear black, I say the F word, I got a big old neck tattoo. Like I get that, like grandma, like if she sees me outside the church is probably going to go like that. You know what I mean? But I also like really like to knit. I also really
Yeah.
like baking cookies. Like, you know what I mean? So there is always something that there's always going to be a common thread
Yeah.
amongst people. And there's always going to be something we can find. And that's kind
Yeah.
of like what my mission is now that I've been given this platform is to be like, okay, yeah, I get that I look a little oddball, but like maybe we could still be friends. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I agree completely. I think it really does come down to, I think, if
Yeah.
we could focus more on finding those commonalities,
Hmm.
and focus less on our differences. I think
Right.
that also I noticed though is still kind of a little bit of a challenge for us even within our
Yeah.
community,
a hundred
right?
percent. A
Focusing on
hundred
like
percent.
let's focus more on the things that we have in common and less on these tiny little details that distinguish
Right.
our experiences and our practices. And then
Yeah.
let's rally together. Yeah. Anyway,
Right. Instead of trying to, I know as a Virgo, it's probably weird to say this, but like instead of trying to be right, like what if we all just hang out?
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you mentioned a moment ago
Yeah.
you dropped the word mission, and I think that
Hmm.
kind of captures or I would say at least from my perspective that is a word I think that would actually kind of capture the energy of maybe what the last year has felt like
Yeah.
for you with what you have been dealing with there. So can you tell our our listeners, our viewers,
Mhm.
um what has been going on over the last year with the local government there and the Serpents Key?
Yeah. So last year, we had an article go out about our shop from a local nonprofit called Main Street Hanover. And they basically they do a lot of promo for local businesses downtown. They throw a festival every year. They decorate, for Christmas. It's a great organization. And I was really happy to get to work with them. Because my grand opening was at the end of the month, I had reached out and I was like, hey, like I'm willing to like kind of lean into the witchy thing. Like, I'll put on a pointed like a hat. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. Like, I'm willing to like be the butt of the joke a little bit if it means that everyone else has a good time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so they put out an article talking about the shop, showing off like what we had in store. And in the last line of the article, they mentioned that I'm a tarot reader by trade, and that I offer services and that you could schedule an appointment with me on my website. Well,
Mhm.
that last line got me into a lot of trouble because the police chief of Hanover read the article himself,
Mm.
called the nonprofit, like talked to the director of the nonprofit and said, "Hey, just so you know, your article alerted me to illegal activity that's going on at the Serpents Key, based on a statute that dates back to 1861." Which,
Uh,
you're right, that's the year the Civil War started, in case anyone was curious. But it outlaws fortune telling.
mhm.
And not just tarot, it's astrology,
Okay.
claromancy,
Okay.
tea leaf reading, necromancy. Ooh, it
Well, all the
literally
fun
says
stuff.
that. Oh, I
Yeah.
know. Basically anything I want to do on a Friday night. Like, no. So he informed them that he was going to be dropping by my establishment just to let me know that
Oh.
it is illegal what I'm doing and that I needed to stop, or he would be back to arrest me.
Oh.
Okay. What a wonderful email to get on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Super good. So immediately I like called a lawyer. I was like, "Hey, like WTF, like what do I do about this?" And he laughed. He was like, "What are you talking about? Like this is such a crazy law. Like there's no way they can actually enforce this. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it too much. Just keep us in the loop if they do show up." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." Now I should mention before all of this, I have, like any good tarot reader and any good business owner, I do my research. I went around to every single other metaphysical store in the area because I'm not the only one. There
Yeah.
at the time were like three others in town, and then about 20 minutes away is Gettysburg, and that is where I go to go like crystal shopping. They have, I mean, it's all about the paranormal, all about ghost hunting, all about, like, it's kind of a magical, spooky town, and I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah.
But I went around to each of the shops that I'd been patronizing for years, and I was like, "Hey, saw this weird law in the books. How do you guys deal with this?"
Yeah.
Some of them hadn't even heard of it. They'd never been bothered about it. Some of
Uh,
them, they'd been in business for longer than I've been alive, and they were like, "Oh, oh, honey, don't worry about that. We have a sign up that says for entertainment purposes only." But the borough, like, they have bigger fish to fry. Like, they're not going to come after us unless you're doing something really wrong. Like, unless you're, pay me
yeah.
$10,000 to get this curse removed from you, and only I can do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I get why the law's in place, but that's simply not what I was doing.
Yeah.
I think my readings, the most expensive one is like $100, like, and that is like my most inclusive offering, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time together delving in. Um, I digress. So after I got that email, I got notified by the nonprofit. They were like, "I'm so sorry. I think we just like messed up your business. Like, we didn't mean to. Like, there's no way." They had actually published articles about other shops and had no other problems before. So I
Oh.
guess today was the day.
Okay.
um they didn't come like the next day, but it was like the 5th of October.
Okay.
And it was the police chief of Hanover, Chad Martin, who was still the police chief, and another officer, actually, who I didn't ask who he was, but this is important to know that there are two.
Hmm.
They came in, they like backed me into the corner of my shop. And so Pennsylvania is a two-party consent state.
Okay.
You have to ask consent to record, right?
Okay.
And I asked them if I could record our conversation because they were saying, "Oh, we're here as private citizens," even though they were in
Oh,
police uniform.
gotcha.
And they said that because we were private citizens having a private conversation, I could not record. So, yeah, they denied me my right to record the
Huh.
conversation. And after
Okay.
that, I said, "Well, I'm not comfortable speaking with you. I would like to have my lawyer present."
Yeah.
He sighed, rolled his eyes at me, and said, "I'm just trying to have an adult conversation with you."
Hmm.
This man is old enough to be my father.
Yeah.
So at that point, I knew they weren't gonna leave until they like did their duty, whatever that might be.
Uh,
And he explained to me that he wasn't there to arrest me at that moment, but if he got any other credible reports, which I didn't know where the report was coming.
yeah.
There has never been an official report.
Yeah. What does that even mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Any other credible reports, he would be back to arrest me for up to a year or charge me $2,500 per offense. Which, like, like for what? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So after that, they left. And I honestly, I waited until we had the interaction to post anything on social media because up until this point, I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Yeah.
was really like, okay, maybe this is just like a warning, like a hey, dude, like I'm gonna come in my khakis and like my dad shirt, just be like, hey, my name's Chad. This is a dumb law. I'm not going to do anything about it, but just in case, like the next chief is coming at you, you know what I mean? Like it could have been
Yeah.
so much more positive,
Yeah.
right? Like it could have
Yeah.
just been like hey, dude, like you may not know about this. This is like a really weird thing but that was not the tone. It was a very like, you are doing something wrong, and I'm the police chief, and I'm telling you you can't.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it's wrong because I'm the chief.
Hmm.
Now, all the other shops in town that have been open longer than I have never had an issue. Like there has never been any sort of problem with that. So that makes me kind of think it was like a targeted thing based off the article. We
Yeah.
also I also did a FOIA request to see if there
Oh,
were any legitimate complaints, and there
okay.
are zero official complaints, which
Okay.
means that the police chief was using his badge to enforce his personal beliefs, essentially.
Clearly. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, following all of that, I got in touch with a civil rights lawyer. And she was like, "Hey, did you know your First Amendment rights were violated?" And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty crazy." So we sent a letter to the borough, essentially a cease and desist. That was like, you need to
Okay.
tell us that you are like not going to enforce this law against my business
Mhm.
because you know it's unconstitutional. They couldn't give us that guarantee. They
Oh,
dragged it out for a really, really long time. They took weeks and weeks and weeks to get back to us. They had to check with their insurance company to make sure they couldn't be held liable and all
ah,
this kind of crazy stuff.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So finally in August, which is it takes forever to do all of this. Like we had to gather all of our resources, gather all of our evidence. On August 19th, under the super full moon in Aquarius, we filed a 19-page lawsuit against the Hanover Borough and the police chief himself for
Okay.
violating my First Amendment rights.
Okay.
And this is not for money. Like a lot of people are like, oh,
Yeah.
we can't wait for you to get your payout. I'm not financially gaining from this,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
idea is to overturn the law so that way
Yeah.
this doesn't ever happen to anybody ever again.
Yeah.
Because kindly, like I'm kind of a jerk. Like I will be loud and just be like, no, like you can't tell me no.
Yeah.
But that may not be the reality for others. So
Yeah.
it really, I've been handed this opportunity to make a really big change, and
Yeah.
I'm not letting that one go.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. I mean, in that sense, I mean, that was the one thing, like in following this,
Mhm.
I wanted to give you an opportunity to really to kind of tell
Mhm.
that story.
Yeah.
Um, and as we were kind of chatting for just a moment before we started
Yeah.
to really kind of do the interview here, I mentioned, we've been kind of following this over the course of the last year through
Mhm.
what you've been able to share, online.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of and this is gonna sound like, oh God, how to say this? Um, this is gonna sound like maybe like I'm not trying to kiss your ass, okay, I
No,
promise. But
no.
as I've been following this, like as you've been kind of dealing with this, as you've been continuing to fight this, I really like the thing that's kind of come to my mind over the last year is like this has been a very pioneering kind of thing for you. Like
Yeah.
you've been a pioneer in the way that you've kind of have stood up and you've said, no, 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 no.
Right.
Because
Right. Like,
I do
hey.
think a lot of other maybe not shop owners, but maybe
Mhm.
who knows, like tarot card readers, psychics,
Right.
whatever they may call themselves,
Right.
they would come up against something like that and they would go and they would be
Mhm.
afraid.
Right.
It's scary to have somebody show up at your door with a badge on their chest, be
Yeah,
like, what you're doing is
absolutely.
illegal and I'm going to arrest you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in that situation, they would fold. And so I think for you to say like, oh no, 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 and to
Yeah.
stand up and say, yeah, no, I'm not going to let you run me out of business. I'm not going to let you take away my right to do this.
Right.
Um, and as you've done this and you've been facing this and as you have been sharing your experience around this, you've done that in a way I think that has, I would hope I would hope, has allowed other people, um, or would have inspired other people to maybe do some research into like what are the laws like in your
Yeah.
town?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
what are you potentially facing in your area of the country, in
Right.
your area of the world? Because these people, unfortunately, like the sheriff that you've been dealing with there,
Mhm.
these people are out there because of their own belief systems, because of their own bigotries and intolerances. These people are
Mhm.
out there and they don't care what
And
they have
they
to do.
wield power.
Yeah,
And they wield power,
yeah,
right? But
yes,
they don't have to.
yeah,
They don't. This is something that can be protected
yeah,
against. And I think above all, like my biggest thing with this is just to like and not to be like I feel like I have this thing thrust upon me. Because like I always feel really grandiose saying that, but I hope that like this can be an example of how pagans about how alternative folks can handle these situations with decorum,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Instead of getting loud and angry and like
yeah,
it's like F you, get
yeah,
even,
yeah,
change the law.
yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. We can work within those same
Mhm.
systems,
Exactly. Just
Yeah,
because he, wields a badge doesn't mean that the systems of justice aren't there for me too.
yeah,
Or they should be, at
yeah,
least. That's what our Constitution allegedly
yeah,
says.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Very true.
I'm very, I'm grateful for the opportunity to put that to the test.
Yeah,
And so far, I feel like this is like it's weirdly, especially with the election year, it's become kind of like this political topic, which is like kind of
yeah,
interesting. Like I've never was like, damn, I should have paid more attention in civics. But it's been a really big unifier.
yeah.
I actually was able to meet with like a senate like a senator from
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
okay.
She invited me to her office, and she's a Republican. But
Oh,
this is a small business issue. This is a
okay.
free speech issue. So I keep having people coming in who are like, hey, I don't really believe in any of this, but I support you and you should be able to
Okay.
do what you want. And like they'll come in, kind of look around, be like, ugh, and like leave. But it's like weirdly like very heartwarming because I
Okay.
know it probably took a lot of courage
Yeah.
to walk into like an unfamiliar environment.
Yeah.
So hopefully it can be like, the first touch point of okay, not every witch is trying to like poison your wells and like steal your babies. It's like, nah, dog, I'm a vegetarian and I just really like the moon. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I absolutely. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to hear that, particularly with like a Republican senator, because
Yeah, I was
yeah,
really shocked. And she
yeah,
is definite like we don't agree on a lot of stuff. Like I was taking a look at her policies and I was like, this is going to be an interesting conversation.
yeah, yeah.
But she listened to me. We sat and we talked for like an hour in her office
Okay.
of just like, and someone was there, like her aide was like taking notes, and she
Oh,
was like legitimately upset about it. She was like, yeah, this
okay.
is like one of those like issues with like the Pennsylvania legislature. Like there's stuff like this all throughout it. She was talking about there was like a farm that it took 8 years to pass this legislation.
Oh,
They had to define the difference between a frozen dessert and ice cream.
oh,
Popsicle stick apparently is what it comes down to.
oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like there's a lot of these weird like
Yeah.
things that do not matter, like that are bogging down the court system. So I think that's kind of where her interest was, and I
Gotcha.
respect that.
Yeah.
But it comes down to like a free speech issue and a freedom
Yeah.
of religion issue, which she was
Okay.
also like interested in. She I
Okay.
think passed some legislation that allowed people to wear whatever religious garb that they wanted in like
Oh,
the public school system,
okay.
which I thought was like really. I was like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
I can agree on that. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
I really think that this situation is something that could have been so divisive,
Yeah.
but instead has been so. I've been able to meet and talk to so many people that I would have never had the opportunity to. And I think
Mhm.
that's really special. And I think it shows how easy community can be built when we're
Yeah.
willing to put those differences aside and just say, like, okay, look, you're a human, I'm a human. Can we do something about this, please? Like, this is kind of
Yeah.
crazy, right? Like,
Yeah. That is. It is. It's kind of something. It is. It helps you. It kind of helps you restore that sense of
yeah,
hope. Yeah.
yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, so speaking of hope,
Mhm.
now that it's at least from what we've discussed at the moment, it
Yeah.
seems like this this situation is something that is soon to be passed, right?
Hopefully so.
Something,
Um,
yes.
the wheels of justice turn slowly but
Yes,
grind
they
finally.
do. Yes, yes.
So we're hoping I'm still so the last like communication we had with the police department was them asking for an extension again to reply to our lawsuit. So
Ah,
this is like a tactic. They're trying to run me out of money.
yeah.
Too bad my lawyer's doing it pro bono, so it doesn't matter.
Nice. Oh,
I'm
good.
yeah,
Good.
this is something that is so important
Okay.
that they're like, don't even worry about it, which is
That's
a
amazing.
blessing. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
I can't like overstate or whatever understate how grateful I am, period. Like
Yeah.
that has been, I think, this whole year has been an exercise in gratitude and
Okay.
allowing people to help me do things because like I went to art school. There's no way I could take this on myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
I
even spell litigation.
I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't know too many I don't know too many people who could. I mean, trying
Right.
the legalese, the expense,
Right.
there are not too
Right.
many people out there who would be able to handle a
Yes.
situation like this, which is
It's
another one of the reasons why I think finding yourself going up against something like this is so
mhm.
scary, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm glad that the for that justice has kind of fallen on your side in this
Mhm.
experience, and that you've got people, including what a lawyer
Yeah.
who have kind of rallied around you on this. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. So
Yeah, I'm very
uh,
grateful. She's
uh,
just and it's been a lot of women. I think that's been like the most special thing about it is like there's a lot of like feminine like divine feminine energy. Like I swear every mom in like the Hanover area just decided that I was like their weird ugly duckling. They were like, "That's my baby. Don't mess with her." And it's like
okay.
so funny. So it's been like this very like positive like uplifting space that we've
That's
created for sure.
I think it's amazing. You want something accomplished. It's gonna be it's your she's, gays, and theys that are gonna get it done.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
always. Not to discredit. I know we have a lot of cis hetero dudes that follow the podcast, and
Yes.
not to discredit any of your
A
accomplishments,
hundred.
gentlemen,
Listen,
but
I need people to help me lift heavy things.
there.
I got you. Like, no, I'm so kidding. I legitimately am so happy whenever I do have like a cis het man like come into my store because they usually are like, "Am I allowed to be here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And then it ends up being like this. I've seen so many people like open up and grow. It's been amazing. So
It's
yeah, but
I'm
it's
I'm so glad you said that. It's so funny. We were having this conversation in the shop here just the
yeah,
other night. We were because we had one of our classes recently. We had two straight guys show up, two
yeah.
cis hetero dudes, and yeah, and it's we have this kind of this running joke in the store now. Every time like something like that happens, we just kind of like, is he lost?
Yeah,
Like,
we
is he?
literally,
You know?
we have like a spot, like so there. I should mark it on the floor. Like, I'll have like, and especially like husbands who are shopping for their wives, they'll like
Yeah,
walk in and stop and just be like petrified. And I'm like, you can come in, it's okay.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's so I love it. Like it's so genuine and so
yeah,
sweet, and like I legitimately it brings me so much joy to be able
yeah,
to like run a place like this, you know.
yeah.
So I'm just very grateful for that.
No, I think yeah, that's great. All right. Well, so what is, with like I said, with the shadows of this unfortunate
Yeah.
situation soon to be behind you, what's on the horizon? Do you have like what are you looking forward to in the new year? What's
So my goal, I'm hoping just to keep expanding. Like
okay.
we have so many really, really fun events. I've had a lot of really cool authors come by.
Ooh, okay.
We've had Amy Blackthorne, she's local, so she
Love
comes by every so
love her.
often.
Yeah.
We had Laura Tempest Zakharov teach like a rune binding or a rune
Love
making
her as
class.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I my goal is just to continue networking and create this really inclusive space where people feel like comfortable to come and learn from
Yeah.
like anyone and everyone who wants to teach. Like it is all
Yeah.
about creating this central hub for alternative, queer, marginalized folks in this area because there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of churches, but there's not a lot of sanctuaries.
Yeah.
And I think that by continuing to like reach across lines and work with those
Mm.
community organizations that may not. They might be like, whoa, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goal is just to continue revitalizing this place because Hanover is a cool town. Um, it's been hit hard by a lot of like economic stuff. There's a lot of things that could be done. And they're so easy. We just need the manpower to do it.
Gotcha.
So my goal is just to continue building that. Like we do community cleanups now, like quarterly for, the equinoxes and the solstices. So
Oh,
finding
okay.
and like having that kind of community space and
Yeah.
giving people maybe an alternative to finding fellowship in a place that isn't necessarily like religious. Like, yes, we're a metaphysical store, but a lot of the time, my events and stuff, like if it's a public event, it's all very secular. We're talking about nature. We're talking about
Okay.
the systems of the planet and like history, what our ancestors did, not so
Yeah.
much let's all praise the god and the goddess, because
Gotcha.
I know that's not for everybody. We have
Yeah.
stuff like that if it is for you, for sure,
Yeah.
because I love that.
Yeah.
But for this space, to me, it's important that everyone can access it. And the most accessible thing that we have is the great outdoors. Everyone can go out and experience it and find some sort of peace or lesson or I don't know, something within that. And I think that is across all cultures, right? Like
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
always
yeah.
that importance
Yeah.
of nature. So I think that being a cornerstone has really helped our space grow and continue to grow. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay. That's incredible. I love that. And from the sound of it, and from what we see from you all over from what you share
Yeah.
online, all that you're doing brilliant work there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, and we will absolutely continue to follow your many exploits. And we encourage all of you, those of you who follow the podcast, please go and please follow the Serpents Key Shop and Sanctuary, right? And support this business. If you are in the area, if you are traveling through that area, please support this business in any capacity. These shops like Beck's, the shops like the Serpent's Key are these are the anchors of your community. Like businesses like this,
Yeah.
shops like this, community spaces, sanctuaries like this. These are the roots, these are the anchors, these are the foundations of your communities. And so please remember that. Please support these businesses. Please support these business owners, in what they are trying to do, because ultimately what they are doing is supporting you. Um,
And if you don't
anyway.
have a space, maybe that's a call to start one. In
Yeah.
2021, I was sitting in jury duty and I decided that I was going to go on Facebook and join like the Pennsylvania Witches group. And we started organizing meetups at the parks,
Oh,
just like a
okay.
little potluck at the park. And
Yeah.
literally, that is what catapulted me into this. So if there is not a metaphysical, if you're like, I don't know where that is, like there's nothing, I'm in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. The internet is a really beautiful thing
Yeah.
and it can bring a lot of people together. So just because it isn't there now doesn't mean that you can't or shouldn't build it.
Very true.
It's
That's true.
necessary.
That's very true. Be the one.
Right,
Be the
right.
one
If
that
there
makes
isn't
that.
one, maybe that's your call,
Yeah.
you
There you
know?
go. There you go. All right. Well, all right. Okay. Well, I want to thank you again so much for giving me some of your time. I know how busy you are, and with everything you've got going on, I just want to again thank you for taking part in this, for allowing us to kind of talk with you today. And yeah, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before you go?
Oh, just thank you so much for having me on, for helping me boost this. Like I feel like I've just had so much help and I can't say how just how grateful I am for anyone who has been interested in this at all, who's just been like, hey, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, this has been such a life-changing event for me. So thank you for being part of
Yeah, no problem.
that.
Yeah. So really quickly before we go, can you share your some of where can people find you on online?
Absolutely. So our shop page can be found on Instagram and Facebook under the Serpents Key. And then my personal pages, I am the Stitching Witch over on Instagram and TikTok. So I have various underscores in my usernames, but
Okay.
I'll send those over to you.
Okay, yeah. If you would, yeah,
And
send those and I'll make sure we get those linked when the episode goes live. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, send those over. We'll make sure we get those
Yeah,
linked when the episode goes live.
100%. I got you.
Yeah. So, all right then. Well, again, thank you so much. All right, and I'll let you get on with your day.
Awesome. Thank
Take
you
care.
so much. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, bye.